Hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Feel free to subscribe if you're interested in any of these things here, and if not, that's okay. I will see you later. I found my gloves. These are my nice silk gloves. I bought a ballroom dress randomly, and so they gave me silk gloves that went with it. Cool, whatever. So, anyways, I need to touch up my face today, and yes, my eyes are a different color. No, that's not my natural. They're purple. So, yes. Hi. How are you guys doing? As always, one moment. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you reading? I want to know. What kind of media are you consuming? Tell me. So, hi. I hope you're doing well. These don't fit me right. I have very, very tiny hands. I have very, very small hands. These do not fit me right. So, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my silver crown. It's got keys on it and a heart. It's from Kingdom Hearts. I like it. It's fun. I actually love Kingdom Hearts. It was a fantastic game. One of my favorite video games. Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to play it over and over and over and over and over again. And it was so fun and it was so interesting. And then as an adult, I was like, whenever I was playing it, I was going through it and I was like, oh my god, there is a lot happening here. There is a lot going on here under the surface. Yeah, there's just a bunch going on under the surface whenever you go and you actually play Kingdom Hearts. You're like, as an adult, after you walk down the left-hand path and then you go and play the game again, you're just like, at least I was, okay? I don't know what you do, that's your business, but at least I was. For my lips today, I'm using the Revlon Color Stay Satin Ink in the shade, let's see what it's called. It's called Black Cherry, but it's a very dark brown, red, burgundy, plummy color I'm into right now. I'm not just into black or red right now. I'm into a mix of something perhaps in between. It's mixing within myself. Today I was going through old videos and I stumbled upon a video I made with my friend in the year of our Lord 2022, and it was a whole entire hour-long video. I should have known that I had recorded with my friend during my Saturn return, and it was interesting because we had spoken upon astrology. She's an astrologer, I am an astrologer as well, and we were in the mixing of the ideas within astrology, pulling down that Uranian energy in a way that was beneficial for mankind. No, I'm just kidding. The decimation and destruction of the devil. No, I'm kidding. But no, we were just singing. No, we were just speaking. Sorry, we were not singing. We were speaking on astrological events of 2022, and then it was so interesting to go back and see who I was at that point in my Saturn return. And I'll insert a photo here. That's what I used to look like. I had this cute little French bob and I always wore red, and my hair was black. And it's so funny because I'm inverted now. I have red hair and I always wear black, and back then I had black hair and I always wore red. So I am just discovering new stuff about myself, basically, and so it's fine. It is what it is. Is it not? I bought something today. What is it? It's obsidian. It's a beautiful piece of obsidian. And I actually went to the store to get Florida water. Look how shiny that is. Shiny black rock. I went to the store to get Florida water, and then instead I ended up getting a very nice little piece of obsidian. And I love obsidian. First of all, I like, there was a man who used to come to the metaphysical shop from Mexico, and he was there's a phrase in Spanish, curandero, curandero. He was a mystical shaman from Mexico. Let's say it like that. And he was versed in the ways of the Aztecs and Mayans and the ancient rites and rituals of the people in Mexico, right? Mixed with Mexican folk magic and how do you say the Santeria. So it's like an amalgamation of folk healing. He was a healer. There we go. There's the English word. He was a healer, and so he came from Mexico, and he would bring obsidian from Mexico, specifically Mexican obsidian, to the store, and he sold it out of a briefcase. And that was his life. He would go healing people. He was a folk healer, and he would sell obsidian in the briefcase that he would bring to the store. And I thought it was so peculiar and so strange and so amazing that this man had saddled up his horse, pulled his boots all the way up, and rode out with his divinity, full force, encompassing just his whole being was that of what he was. He was standing full in his destiny and in his, how do you say, he was full and he was standing full. He was standing on business. And he was a salesman of obsidian and also a healer. So, number one, he was a magician. And he was really, really amazing. I thought he was fantastic. And I like observing people and looking at their little archetypes and being like, and who may you be? And who are you? Anyways, I need to fix my lipstick and my makeup. But yeah, I got a nice piece of obsidian. I also, sorry, my hair is in my mouth. I'm not good with gloves. I'm not really good with sheathing my hands. My hands are so awkward. I'm so weird with my hands. You can't even see them now because it's like they're, my bed's black, so you don't even know where my hands are. Anyways, so I also got this glorious piece of black kyanite. Look at that. Isn't it magnificent? Oh God, I love, okay, so first of all, not just one of those girlies that's like, I get like amethyst because it's good for your brain and blah, 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 blah. Did you know that in ancient times, people used to make chalices out of amethyst because they thought that it would cure their drunkenness. They thought that if they drank out of an amethyst, that there was qualities within the amethyst that would help cure their drunkenness. So they could drink the fine wine as long as it was out of an amethyst chalice in order to prevent the loss of their mind. Anyways, in ancient times, allegedly. I don't know, I wasn't there. So look at this beautiful piece of black kyanite. So I enjoy, haha, there we are. Magnificent. Is it not just the prettiest thing ever? Oh God, I love the way crystals and gems and minerals, they grow and shape. Have you ever seen gold or silver still in the matrix? Not a ring, but it looks like webs. It looks like lightning within the earth. It's struck gold. It's amazing, but look. I must show you some more. Delicious. It's like some kind of throne. It's so beautiful. Black kyanite. I love it. I also like blue kyanite, but black kyanite is fantastic. And when I used to work at the shop, there was a world-renowned medium, and she was like, the thing that I use the most is a piece of black kyanite. She says I will rub it through my aura. She takes it like a fan and just fans herself with it. Does it work? I don't know. We're speaking on things that are and are not, honey. Now we're getting into the weird waters, the strange territory. Did you bring your floaties? Think. Did you bring your floaties today? I have an extra tube you could hop into. We could go tubing down the river if you want. The Guadalupe. Okay, so used to work at a metaphysical shop. There was a world-renowned psychic medium lady who worked there. She has since passed on. She's doing fine. She's all right. I had a dream about her after she passed. So anyways, she's fine. Do I know what happens after we pass? No. Is that my business? No. Of course it's not. I don't know what happens after we pass. I don't fucking know. It's not my business. So she told me to use a piece of black kyanite to comb through your aura in order to get rid of those pesky little thoughts and inclusions and intrusions that happen within the psyche whenever you are around too many things, when you are in those strange waters. Number one, you are within the water, the Piscean water of divinity and divine love, everything, anything, and nothing. Endless, supreme bliss of uncertainty, the Piscean water. And now when you're swimming in there, it is scary. It's very, very scary. Why is it scary? What's so scary about it? What's under the water? You can't always see. You can't touch. Your toes cannot, the water Scary. It's frightening. Ooh, spooky. What is under there? There's something. You see shadows, maybe? Your brain's playing tricks on you. You're in these endless waters. And sometimes there's trash. Sometimes people have thrown beer cans. Sometimes there's trash. Bottle caps, trash bags, old McDonald's wrappers. There's trash. Who did this? This is a communal, the Piscean waters of the 12th house, baby. This is a communal bath. We all bathe in it. We are all from these waters, the water within water. Why have you left trash? Thanks for breaking glass where my kids play. Thanks for breaking glass where my kids play. But yeah, something of that nature. I'm sorry. I'm not used to wearing gloves. Now that I am, I feel so strange. And I have tiny hands, and I don't think that these gloves fit my tiny hands. I think they're meant for the females who have fingernails. I do not have fingernails. I have fingernails, but they're covered in nail polish that is made out of cattle bones. And so it is kind of funny. So anyways, you're in the Piscean waters of everything, anything, and nothing, and it's a little strange. You're getting a little mixed up, a little confused. You're swimming, and you notice there's trash. Now, are you the trash? No. Are you the water? No. But you are the drop within the ocean, and then the ocean and the drop. You are everything, anything, and nothing. It's easy to dissolve within such waters if you stay too long. It's easy to lose yourself. It's easy for your ego to separate, and then you become oneness with the vastness of the waves roaring and the peace and the clouds and the sky, and everything's the same shade of blue and white and cream and also dark. It's dark, it's deep, and so it's kind of scary. Is it a void? I don't know, but you're suspended, you're floating, you are caressed by the ocean waves. And if you know how to float and you don't sink, one of the very first things, other than my mother dropping me into the deep end of a pool and telling me to swim, she taught me how to float. She taught me how to relax my body, still myself, and be. And it is something you must learn. People float sometimes. Do you know how to float? Also, another thing I had to learn was how to sit on the bottom of a pool. And so what we would do, this is funny. This is so funny now that I'm thinking about it. Now that the memory is there. Hello. And so when I was younger, my brother's relatives had a pool. And we stayed with them for quite some time. We did some couch surfing. I was definitely... we would go house to house, much like the Five of Pentacles was my childhood, house to house, looking for comfort and safety and security from the oppressive external, right? And so we lived with my brother's family and my brother's relative. We have different fathers. So me and my mother lived with my brother's relatives, and in return for our staying there, my mother cleaned their house. She was a maid, essentially. She navigated the waters of being a barmaid and then being an actual maid. That's what my mother was. She was a server. She served. And ironically, we come from the stewards. That's so funny because steward is a certain meaning. Anyways, so on my mother's side, I'm a steward. On my father's side, I am something else. A secret third thing. Anyways, so we stayed there, and she cleaned the pool out and whatnot. So there was a pool at this house, and they were well off, and they worked for the church. That's why they were well off, because later on we would find out that they were embezzling money. They lost everything. Good. Fantastic. I think that if you are embezzling money and doing nefarious things, you should swan dive out of the tower. So anyways, but is it a lesson? Of course it is. So I learned my lessons within this pool was how to go to the bottom of it and hold my breath. And the way my brother taught me how to sit at the bottom of a pool, to sit on the floor of the ocean, to sit below the waters of water, was that we played a tea time game. And so we had to go sit down cross-legged, crisscross on the bottom of the pool. And it was so strange because he would just stay down there for a very long time. And I was scared. I was like, okay, well, if he's dead, he'll come to the surface. But he wasn't dead. He was on the ground. He was on the bottom of the floor and the pool and the deep end. And how did my brother do these things? I think I was 5 years old. And I was like, how is he doing that? I would like to know. Teach me, boy. And so he was like, well, you can't how do you explain that to a 5-year-old? How do you communicate with big boy words how to sit on the bottom of the floor of the pool? Fuck if I know. I couldn't do it today if I tried. You have to come, keep quiet, let me show you. And then you do, and you practice until you actually can do the performance, which was, we had a tea party underwater in the deep end of the pool. And so I learned how to hold my breath. I learned how to go under the water. I learned how to sit on the ground. First, it started off with, I had to go to, there was a hole where the filter was, the hole in the bottom of the pool, kind of like a grate type of thing. And so he was like, you know, telling me, we're going to go down there, and if you can't breathe, go back up. Don't be a fucking idiot, you know. You have to live. Don't be stupid. So practice, slowly integrate yourself into this water, and understand that you have to hold the grate to feel what it feels like to, you have your body start to balance at the bottom of the pool, you know. And so that's how he taught me. He took me to the bottom of the pool. And at first I couldn't hold my breath as much as he could. He was, I was 5, so he was at least 12, 13, 15, 16, something like that. He is much older than me. And so I was like, well, teach me the ways of the water. Teach me these ways. How do you do this? You know. And so my mother would clean the pool, and then we'd go into the pool, and he would teach me how to go beneath the water and hold onto the grate to learn how to navigate resting against the concrete on the bottom. So my mother taught me how to float, and my brother taught me how to sink. And in between, we had a tea party. So it got to the point where I learned how to hold my breath. I learned how to get to the bottom. I learned how to not only float, but how to sink. There is a sinking process that happens, and it has to come from within. And you can't just tell yourself, okay, now go sink. What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't understand. There's not words you could speak to my ears, which are very big, on how sinking works. It is felt from within, and you must do it. And so it takes practice. So it took practice. Sinking took practice, and holding my breath, and learning the ways of the pool, the ways of the waters, right? And so then I got to the point where I could, like I said, I could hold my breath, I could sink, I could float. I was getting good. I learned how to do laps. I was practicing every day, and so I could do things in the pool, and it was fun. It was fun. It was interesting living there at this, like, kind of like this preacher's house with a nice pool, and learning how to dive into these waters, and not only dive, but sit for long periods of time under the water, like in a meditative, we would joke and like sit like a little Buddha, you know, like meditating on the bottom of the pool floor and just sitting there. And so we would watch each other, and he taught me how to do that, which was very curious now that I'm thinking back. But it got to the point where we could do our little tea party, and so I would always tell him when we were playing in the pool, let's have an underwater tea party. That's what it was called. And so we'd go underwater, and we'd sit cross-legged, and we would pretend to have a cup, and then we'd blow bubbles, and then and when we ran out of air, we'd swim to the top and laugh and haha. Can you hear what I said? And then it became another type of game. Can you hear what I say underwater? Can you guess the words I'm speaking underwater? Can you guess? And so that was another pool game we would play. Around that time, there was also other games you play in the pool, like essentially fetch. And so they would throw rings, or how do you say, like rings, like fancy rings or things into the water, and then they would sink, and you would like spin around, whatever. They would, you wouldn't look, and they would throw things into the deep end. Okay, you played the game mostly around nighttime or nightfall, when it was darker, whenever the view was obstructed, because, or obstructed, I suppose, because the sun was no longer out, and there was a strange light coming from one of the areas of the pool, and so the water was strange looking without the sun. At nighttime, the water is different. And what is there? I don't know. I can't see correctly. You know, during the day it's peaceful and whatever, but at night, what lurks below the surface? You don't know. And so there's fear. That is the evocation of fear. That evocation of what is it? What is that? What are these things? And so whatever. So anyways, they would like, you would spin around, they blindfold you, and then they throw things into the water and tell you, okay, now go get them. You have to go fetch, basically human fetching. And so then you had to go fetch the things that were in the water. And now that I'm thinking back to it, how funny it is. But it was play, and play is important for mammals to do. And my brother taught me how to sink, and my mother taught me how to float, and also how to swim. So, important life lessons. Ironically, my sister-in-law, she is a woman from Mexico. She is Mexican, and she's literally from Mexico. It took her like 15 years to get her, how do you say, the citizenship, and there was a whole very, very sad process that went along with that. Um, that's for another day, but what they do to women when they need citizenship is not okay. The things I heard him say, the things he did not say, spoke volumes. So I have an intimate understanding, unfortunately, and fortunately, on the process of a woman receiving her citizenship. Okay, but ironically, she does not know how to swim, and their children do not know how to swim, to an extent, from what I know. And I thought that was so bizarre, because you taught me how to lay on the bottom of the floor of the pool. He taught me how to dive into these waters, and then, but he did not teach his kids. I thought that was bizarre. I thought that was so strange. And of course, swimming is strange. We live, well, number one, we live in Texas, and so there are how do you say? It's a dance. There's a dance. I don't know the correct word, so I speak in weird ways. There's a dance that happens with the Caucasians, the whites here in Texas. And so they're German and Dutch and Polish and the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakian or Czech, and they are also like Lithuanian, and they have a lot of let me find the correct words. The migrants from the 1800s, I have to pull out my educational voice. The migrants from the 1800s had came here, okay, to Texas, and when they settled the land, the wilderness of Texas, that was already basically settled by the indigenous peoples here. But whenever the migrants in the 1800s came over here, a lot of them were Czech, a lot of them were Lithuanian. They came from Eastern Europe, as well as places such as Germany, Poland, Norway, things of that nature. They came over here, and they, for some reason, went straight to the heart of Texas. I think it's so peculiar for a time period not having plains that they sure did drop into the middle of the plains, so to speak. And so when you go to ancient Texas graveyards, like I do, I frequent graveyards all the time. Today I went to a graveyard. I had to check on my, how do you say, my grandmother-in-law, to see if she was okay, to see if she was doing well. And then from the checking, I checked out a couple other things that I thought were bizarre. I have to go do research later. Note to self, research, bitch. So, note to self, bitch, do research. So anyways, I am a bloodhound for graveyards. I love graveyards. I'm always graveyards. You find so many things within them. There's so many things you could find in a graveyard. Not just people doing magic and speaking to their ancestors and infinite sorrow, but you can also find history, true history. You can find a truer history, and if you're smart, you will know where to look. And if you're smart, you will know where to look, okay? Whenever you're in a graveyard. So, I go to graveyards all the time. But in the middle of Texas, there's sorrow and sadness, and you see the sins of the father, the sins of the mother. You see the sins of them, right? And so then you start understanding from a graveyard. That's okay. Let's back this up. Okay, not only were there migrants that came over from Europe in the 1800s and settled certain parts of Texas, they also died here and brought with them their beliefs, their structures, their ideologies, as well as their views and their familial ties. And then deposited into the land. And so now what we have here within Texas is an amalgamation of immigrants, old and new. And, Texas was always Mexico until it was not. So I think that's ironic and interesting. But what I'm trying to say is that anywhere I go, the first thing I'm doing, I'm finding the biggest, baddest bitch and I'm knocking her out. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm finding the biggest, baddest graveyard, the oldest graveyard within an area, and I'm going to the oldest grave, and then I am reading what the fuck it says. I am touching that tombstone, and I am looking around from that point. I go to where the first death happened, and then I allow myself to start unfolding and unwinding and see how the town or place or wherever I'm at is wound and bound through time and space, because it starts with the death. Starts with the first seed sowed in the land, right? And so I go to the oldest grave and I see, well, when did this start? When was the first death? So perhaps it started about 30 years before the first person died. Who is the oldest person in this graveyard? Where are you? And I go and I shake their hand. Hi, well. What do we have here? Tell me your story. What is this place like? What are the people like? What is your legacy? What have you left behind? Now, is that weird? Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't really care what you think. These are the things I do. I'm just speaking on what I fucking do. Am I weird? Yes. No shit, Sherlock, I'm weird. Sorry, I can't fucking fit at your fucking norms. But yeah, no, I am weird, and I'm sorry. I am weird. Whatever. I accept it. It's fine. And when I was a child, my mother used to take me to different Texas markers, and so she helped me grow a certain way to where I consciously and constantly will seek out historical markers to find out the bigger picture, the broader picture of why things are the way they are within this area of Texas, of New Mexico, or wherever we're at. I also like going to old parks that are protected by government things, and discovering the energies that are there, these important little vortexes throughout time and space, right? But back to the whole graveyard thing, my mom would take me to historical markers where people had died when I was a child, and she always spoke to me of stories that were in a way very alarming and scary, like Mexican folk tales or spooky things. And of course, within those scary tales, what is in a scary story? Well, there is fear of the unknown, there is fear of the known. So there's the known, the unknown, and then the in between, right? The places and spaces where those two things kiss, the known and unknown, and now kiss. So the known and unknown contact, and so within all these scary stories, some people have a more malicious and asshole approach to telling stories, where they're like, I want to tell my child a scary story to control them. So I'm going to evoke feelings and sensations of something scary, the kokoi or whatever, the scary, the boogeyman, the hat man or something like that, and then, people are just like, oh, what is this? Oh, Mama's okay. They're like, oh, what is this? It's so scary. It's a thing. And then, well, if you do not submit to my will, this scary thing will come eat you. It's always a story. Is it not always the fucking same story? Some strange act of cannibalism will come devour the child. Is that not always the same story? If you do not listen to me, you do not submit yourself to my will as the parent, as the adult, as the authoritative figure, the thing will creep and crawl out of the darkness from under your bed, from in your closet, from out of the river, from down the way, from your fucking the toilet or whatever, just all these places, these hidden places. The thing will come and it will eat you, and devour you, and you will never be again. That's always how the stories go. They're always the evocation of the unknown, and then also tag it as scary adversary. Scary adversary. Right? Is that not how all the little children's stories go? There is something in the woods. Don't go in the woods. Better listen to me. And then the kids, like myself, are always mischievous and curious. And la 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 la. Very mercurial. And they're like, I want to know what's in the woods. And then, oh my God, it's something very spooky and scary. Perhaps it's yourself in a mask. I don't know. Then there is do you heal or do you kill? Do you integrate or do you fight? What are you doing? Are you fight or flight, or are you going to run and then try again later? And then go back to your parents and say, I did not listen. I was wrong. You were right. I should submit to your will, blah, blah, blah. Until you get to a certain age where you go, let's take them off the pedestal. Let's have that fucking lightning bolt moment. Desecrate the temple. Blow it up. Burn it down. Rise from the ashes. Or whatever you guys do, whatever you crazy kids are doing in your free time, desecrating temples, whatever you guys are doing in your free time, yeah, and so, I don't know. You can't even see it. Everything's black. I have a very nice bow, and I wear it, and this is a very lovely bow. I like bows, and I wear it in my hair, but earlier I was wearing it in my hair, and it looked like bat ears, and I was like, that's so fucking cute. I kind of want to do it right now. I kind of want to put it up. It looks like little bat ears. Anyways, we're gonna just not talk about the bow. Okay. Yeah, I like that bow a lot. I like silk things. I like black silk things a lot more than I like white silk things or red silk things. I've spoken about this before. I feel more comfortable wearing black than I do wearing other things. And ironically, I had some white lace gloves. I'm in my glove era. Don't judge me. So I bought some. Well, I didn't. I have 3 pair tomorrow. Sorry. I have this issue where I want my hair to be so fluffy and poofy, and it is. This is how my hair looks like after I get out of the shower if I don't brush it down. And if I do brush it down, I look like somebody from the how do you say, the Manson family. I look like one of the girls. I have the very 1960s, 1970s, hippie hair if I brush my hair and then let it dry. But whenever I just get out of the shower, this is what my hair looks like. It's kind of got a strange wavy-ish texture. Now I'm gonna be mad because my bow's not sitting straight. It's fine. It does matter. Start fighting myself. My bow. Just girly things. Getting into an altercation with a stranger on the street because your bow's not sitting right. Anyways, yeah, so I'm so sorry. Today I visited a cemetery. I enjoy cemeteries. I don't enjoy death. I'm sorry. Let me back this up. I'm not a weirdo. I am a weirdo. I'm lying. Let's switch gears. So I've been listening to Kubla Khan, Texas, and Slipknot, and System of a Down, and there's a band, I don't know how to say their name, but I'll put it right here. I listen to them, and they make me happy, and I like dancing to their music. But yeah, I think I was speaking about immigrants from the 1800s, and yeah, there's a lot of things. Anyway, so yeah, I know what to talk about now. My mom used to take me to old cemeteries as a child, and then evoke this scary stuff. Like, okay, now that we're at the cemetery, ooh, scary thing, and it will come eat you if you don't fucking listen to me. And so then I would be like, oh my god, you bitch, that's fucked up. I'm kidding. Mother, why would you do these things? She's like, well, because the scary thing will come eat you. It's such a shitty scare tactic, literally. It's so shitty. But so she did this to me. So she put within me a maternal love for death and history and things that are outcasted by society because of revenge, because of their actions, because of their consequences. And so I have a fucking eternal, maternal love for things that are abandoned in the wilderness, because my mother taught me, number one, their stories, number two, we spent time together and she was nice to me, so we developed a bond over these types of interactions. And so therefore, within my psyche, in the deep dark depths of Emily Ann, right, in my fucking psyche, there is a light, and that light is a love for things. The Llorona, you know, the fucking the Cocoy, the Lechuza, you know, the La Lechuza, the fucking the boogeyman, the Mothman, everything, the Hatman, everything, the devil, Lucifer, everything. I have such a deep love for all of these characters and their archetypes because they're important. Loki, Saturn, it doesn't matter. The Baron, you know, that it doesn't matter. I have such a deep love for things that are not being taken care of. And I'm always the person to find the runt in a litter and grab it and protect it and raise it and allow it to exist, because I know and I feel that the earth is large enough for things that are pristine and albino and white and beautiful mourning doves, you know, the beautiful pigeons that are all white. And then also on the opposite end, the world is big enough for the scapegoat, for the fucking the one that is tossed aside into the desert for the lot of the thing that lives under the mountain, that's been bound and wound through time and space because he did a big no-no one time. The world is big enough to encompass and to include everybody and everything from all walks of path, good, bad, ugly. I don't give a fuck, because there is no good, bad, and ugly. There just is, and there always is, and there always will be. I'm just kidding. No, but I'm so upset because there is the overarching of it has to be a certain way, that everything needs to be structured and formed in this way, and I don't think that's fucking true. I know it's a goddamn lie, and it's shitty, and it's fucked up, because then we have people leaving their children out by the river's edge to just be devoured by God knows what comes crawling out them waters. And whenever you leave your baby out by the river's edge, guess who the fuck picks it up, bitch? It's me. I'm the fucking person that is in the deep dark. And no, I'm not fucking, yeah, I was scary at first. You know, a little girl at Hot Topic called me a monster the other day. And maybe I am a monster. But here's the thing. If you abandon a child, any kind of a child, your ideas, your dreams, your fantasies, your reality, yourself, to be structured in a certain way, I will be the one at the river's edge to pick it up and to care for it and to love it, because every fucking motherfucking thing in this goddamn earth deserves love. Everything. From the sweet little albino corn snakes that I named Lady Luck, to the silly mixed cat named Beans. Everything. Doesn't matter if it's a runt or if it's, you know, the cock of the walk. It doesn't matter. Everything deserves love. And just because something is louder and something is more quiet doesn't mean that the quiet thing doesn't deserve love. It does deserve love. It deserves love in a certain way. And so that's why in astrology, Venus does her 12 labors. She goes through the entire chart. She goes through the entire wheel, how she goes retrograde and above and beyond and whatnot, because everything has a shard of God in it. Everything has a little bit of love in it, and everything also is seeking to be loved in some way, recognition or whatnot. I don't know what your flavor of love is. I don't know your love language, but there are so many pathways and whatnot. I cannot stand whenever there is something that people abandon, because number one, that was me. Hey, 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 hey. It was me, bitch. I was the thing that got abandoned. And now I am 32. Now I am at the end of my Saturn return, and now I'm looking back down at my entire life. And the whole fucking carving through the forest. I'm at the top of the mountain. The unicorn is next to me, and we're sitting here, and I can hear the symphony of all the fuckery happening. And now what do I have to do? I have to submit myself back to the things at the bottom, all the way back through those game trails, and maybe go off trail and figure out what the fuck's over there. I hear her crying. I hear the niño and his zapatitos. You know, you can hear them. Their cries. You can hear them. Come down from the mountain. You know, you're resting. You're looking. You're watching, and you come down and you say, I have to help the things that you left and abandoned. There is an ancient story. There is an ancient story about Bigfoot, the Yeti. And there is a very, very sad story. I'm going to watch it. I am going to watch it. I am going to watch the story, so bear with me. But there was a man, and I believe he was from Crow Nation, and he was speaking on the story of the Yeti. And so this is not my story, but I'm retelling a story. Telephone game, okay? Telephone game. Hello? So what we're going to do here is we're going to tell a story about the Yeti. All right, now there was a time when the government, the overarching Saturnian structure, did not want indigenous people to exist here in America. Even though it was their land, there was a reaping and a taking of them and moving them. Of course, you heard the things of the Trail of Tears, and if not, I suggest you go look into it, but it's fucking catastrophic and very, very sad. It's very, very sad. It's horrific. It's disgusting. It's devastating. So, but there's a story that they had to leave behind. They left behind children who were different. Children who had things wrong with them to where they were in need of a caretaker. They left all the children behind and they hid them in an area at the base of the mountain. Okay, they hid them there. And then they all had to go on this journey to where the government told them that they had to be, and there was death and there was punishment, and there was just all these horrific oppression and torture that had happened. Horrific. As well as abandoning the children who needed caretakers. And so they had no food, they could not correctly communicate, and they were completely abandoned. An entire pack of these children from the Society of the Indigenous People at that point in time, okay? Just left behind. Okay? They cried and cried and cried for days. They cried. They were hungry. They had no one to take care of them. Some of them passed along, right? It got to the point where the people who had left the children behind remembered. They remembered. And that memory, I guess, burned in them. And so they went back. When they finally got away and they went back, they noticed the kids, they were living there. Feral, yes, but they were living where they had left them, and they were surviving and thriving to an extent. At least some of them were. Okay? According to the story. Okay? And of course, this is not my story. I am retelling a story that I heard. Telephone game. Okay? So do not take this and run. Okay? But when they returned these, I thought you would be dead. I didn't know I was going to come back and like bury you and blah, 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 and like blah, 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 do a ceremonious thing, whatever, right? To rectify the wrong of abandonment, right? And the kids still, they could speak at this time, or at least some of the kids did. And so what they explained to the people who came back to rectify the wrongness of the abandonment at the fucking cost of the overarching restructuring of society via, you know, the government at that time was taking indigenous people and locking them up and throwing them and forcing them and doing the whole colonization thing, right? But the children who were abandoned were not colonized, and instead they spoke of a story that on like, Mama, shh, Lily, you okay? Instead, they spoke on a story about how after the third day of them screaming, crying, and seeking and begging, the hairy man came down from the mountain and like started giving them food, and then showed them where water was, and was like silently in the shadows their caretaker. So essentially, this story goes that the Yeti, Bigfoot, something of that nature, the hairy ape man, right, that lived in the mountains. Okay, now I know this sounds outlandish and whatever. It's a story. Just listen to it. Do not allow your senses and your logic to sit there and pick apart the thing, and if you want, you can. But what I'm saying, it's a story, okay? And it's a story, and it's a botched story, and it's a story of a story from a story, okay? But the Yeti man, the ape man, had come down from the mountain, silent, not very well spoken, and helped these children who were abandoned and left behind, and taught them how to, here's the berries, here's clean water, la la la. And did he speak? No, he did not speak. He did not. And then he would go back into the mountains. Once he taught them how to do the thing, to survive. They shut the fuck up. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know about the Yeti, but how funny would that be to see that the Yeti's like, oh, okay, alrighty. And then he comes down and he's like, here's food, water, shelter. He taught them, what was good, what was bad, blah, 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 real quick. And then he went back and was kind of like the silent watcher in the mountainside, in the forest, in the green. Not always seen, you know what I'm saying? And so, at least that's what the kids told the people who came back to rectify their wrong. Or at least that's what someone said that they did. Did any of this happen? No, I don't know. Maybe, yes, no, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just telling you a story I heard. But how curious is that? How curious and strange is that, I really need to fix my makeup. Anyways, so I personally have always loved things that were abandoned, because on my wanderings throughout time and whatnot, I always found things that were abandoned. And so I was like, well, I'll take care of it. I'll love it. I was abandoned too one time. And so through loving things, I found like I was taking care of myself. The things, like, how they say you are the person you needed. Bitch, I ran with that shit, honeybee. I ran with that shit. Yeah, I became the person I needed, the person I think everybody needs in abandonment. I became that light in the darkness for myself, and I hope for others to an extent. But at a point, you have to do it yourself. You have to, at a point, I'll step back, and then you go and do your thing. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Live your life or whatever. There will be a point where you leave the nest, right? Whenever your wing is healed, when your wound is sewn up enough, and you could go back on your hero's journey. Da-da, goodbye, have fun. Don't forget to take care of yourself, drink plenty of water, and believe in yourself. But I have such a soft spot for so the story of the devil and whatnot. I find it very fascinating and interesting because, number one, I grew up in the South, and my mother was an evangelical Christian woman, but she was also, she was a twin, and her brother was a, Jehovah's Witness, and so they fought over who was going to go to hell first. Silly things, silly sparring that happens between people with deliriousness, different religious backgrounds, not deliriousness, but different religious backgrounds. They fight over ideas, whatever. That's how they want to spar. That's them. I don't spar like that. I don't like that kind of sparring. I think the world's big enough for all of us. And if you want to spar, if you want to debate, we could do that. And we could play with ideas. I like playing with ideas. I like bringing fresh ideas to the table. I like mixing different things together and being like, well, let's look at, what is this? What does this look like? What is that? What does that taste like? What are those flavors of belief? Interesting. So, yeah. But, I don't know. I enjoy the stories of the devil, or some people call them the questioning God or whatever, the person that, Lucifer, the devil, whatever. Because I think that it's important when you're developing the pillars within yourself, when you're developing one hemisphere or another, it's important for you to have contrast, to understand you can't just be in the whiteness of white all the time. It's bright. Wow. Blinding. How can you see anything else if there's only white? No. You need contrast. And from contrast, you move into color, right? And then you go into the spectrum, the illumination of the the rainbow and everything that is and is not, and in between and whatnot. But if you just stay in light, in logic, in your masculinity, and like, you can, I'm not saying it's not important for people to just be in servitude to God. I think that's great. For you, if you need it, then you need it. Good, fantastic. But to me, I like looking at different avenues of different, spiritual, how do you say, practices. And so, in one way, people are, well, there's pillars in you, and you have to ding, 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 like a pinball machine. Is it the Kabbalah? That's not how it goes, but I think it's funny to say, the pinball machine, ding, 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 ding. You have to develop structure. There's the pillar of this and the pillar of that, right? And then between the pillars, the high priestess, and she tells you if you're ready or not, la 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 la, whatever, blase blase, la 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 la, whatever. So then, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun. I like looking at different spiritual things, but had the devil not been in the Christian faith, then he would have never held the door open for me to fucking leave. Do you understand what I'm saying? Had I not been interested, like, hey, come here. What did you do that was so bad? Had I not started the questioning process of being like, well, God loves everything. And so if God loves everything, then he loves the devil too, right? And well, he made everything. So if he made everything, then he made the devil too. And so is he a bad person? And my father, from what I remember when I was a child, and the stories my mother told me about him, was that he was how do you say, well, she slandered him very much, so I don't really know who he was. I don't know who my father was, and that's okay, but I have his name. Ta-da! And so the sins of the father passed on to the child. Or how the girls go, or whatever the girls do, this day and age girls are like, the sins of the father passed on to the child. Hello, hi, I am here. It is me. I am the sins of my father. So, but anyways, my mother, she was an evangelical Christian, right? And she was like, God, 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 blah, blah, blah. But then she told me that my father, she did not know, was like he believed in Satan in a, like as a, like a deity. He deified Satan. And so my mom was like, well, he was just a devil worshipping, how do you say? She called him a devil worshipping bisexual something. So anyways, I was like, thank you, mother. So now I have a appropriate picture of the man who helped create me, Dr. Frankenfurter. I was like, is that what he looked like? Was he Dr. Frankenfurter? Was he a hot dog? Is that my dad? Was that him? Tim Curry? Like, is that my dad? What does he look like? Because in my memories, I don't know what he looks like, and there's no images of him. And so I'm like, did he even exist, or did I just pop out of an egg? Like, tell me the truth, woman. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so she was like, he was a theological? I don't know how to explain the word's fleeting. I'm so sorry. And usually I'll go and research a word. He believed in Satan as a deity. He was a Satanist, I guess, And of course, Anton LaVey was very, very popular in the time era that my father was alive and whatnot. And so perhaps he had sniffed around and found something. And, my father was also an abandoned child. And my grandfather, I've spoken of him before, is very devouring, very Saturn-esque. And my grandmother was like, all my children are evil. And so you should take your daughter and run. That's one of the stories my grandmother told, who I'm also named after, told my mother, take your daughter and run. My children are evil. And so I was like, Mother, you're telling me these stories. I'm hearing them. I have quite large ears. What the fuck are you saying, bitch? The fuck are you saying? You're telling me that my dad was a bisexual Satanist? And why did you fuck him? What? Like, why? What the fuck are you saying, bitch? For somebody who believes in God a lot, you kind of fucked up there, babe. So the peculiarities of my birth are shrouded in mystery. Mostly the mystery is, what the fuck? And then the second one is, why? And the third one is, what? So, yeah. But anyway, so my mom was like, oh yeah, he was a, bisexual Satanist or whatever. And I was like, why did you even get with him, bitch, if you're so, like, into God and Jesus? Anyways, so, because my mother told me these stories when I was a child, along with the whole, the Kokoi's gonna come eat you and blah, 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 and whatever, your father's an evil bastard, la, 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 la. So I had an affinity. I was like, well, if my father's an evil bastard and he believed in Satan, does that mean I'm the evil bastard's child? What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, what does that fucking mean? What is this, Mom? You told me that. And so when I would do research into, like, okay, well, Mother, tell me the stories of my father. She would always, amp them up with rage and violence and anger and frustration and shut up, stop asking questions, shut the fuck up, I don't want to talk about him, la 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 la. I fucking hate him, he hates you, let's leave it at that, and of course, as a child, you want to know, who is my father? Who is my fucking dad, bitch? Come on, who's my dad? What blood do I hold in his veins? And kind of thing. And so, she was just so, she's kind of an asshole about it. She was such an asshole about my fucking birth. She wouldn't tell me anything. And so I spent a majority of my life, 30 years, very detached from my inheritance of who I am, and it was very frustrating. It's very frustrating to not know your culture, to be outside of your culture, and it fucking made me mad. But because she told me these stories of my father being some kind of satanic bastard that was evil or whatever, so because that seed was in my mind, this was my father. My father believed, my dad believed that Satan was real, and he maybe worshipped him. Right? I was like, well, Oh, and there's another story. My mom, she took me to get baptized behind my dad's back, which is funny because when I watched Sabrina, I was like, bitch, no way, because that shit happened to me too, kind of, but not really, not like that. But no, my dad didn't want me to get baptized. My mom wanted me to get baptized, so I got baptized. There's strange neighbors who took me to go get baptized, and my name's Emily. And they named their daughter Emily. But here's the thing, I was named after my dad. And so then they had a child and named her after me. And as an adult, that doesn't sit okay with me. I think they wanted to kidnap me or something. I don't know. I could be making that up. I don't really know. But that's not kind of fucking weird. This is like a little fucking weird, okay? So anyways, yeah. And so they called her Little Emily, and then I was Emily and Little Emily. So there's two Emilys at this house, and they were like good Lutheran people. They were from the Lutheran church. And so they like took care of me. And it was so strange. They had two Emilys, and they were like, you're like the daughter that we wish we had, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, anyways. So my dad got mad at my mom, and there was like this huge fight that happened. And so my mom told the church, the pastor, that my father had claimed he was going to go do some things to the church. My dad had threatened to... why am I telling you guys this shit? It's important to be honest. My father threatened to burn the church down after my mother got me baptized. It was a huge fight. I had to go live for a couple of weeks at Little Emily's house. And even though my name was Emily, I had to go live at the other Emily's house. It's so fucking weird. Now I'm looking back, I'm like, this is fucking weird, bitch. Anyways, so he threatened to burn down the church. So they made a mob. They made a legitimate mob, came to my father's house, and they were like, you want to burn our church down? We're going to drag you out and beat you up and la la la. And like right here and there. And so, that was like the beginning of the end of me actually ever seeing my father again. And so like in my mind's eye, I don't know what he looks like, but I remember like I will sit in deep meditation. I'm like, well, bring up stories, I'm here now. What was it? What did he look like? I never know what he looked like. So in all my dreams or whatever, he's like headless. He does not have a head. He's just like headless. That sounds scary too. Whatever, fuck it. It's October. Let's get scary with it. Let's get scary with the truth. So in all of my visions, my father does not have a head. In all my dreams and recollections of him, he is like those cartoons parents that don't have a head. You know, he's just a torso down, a headless man. And so it's just funny because, like I said before, there is a contrast that happens. Those were literally the two pillars of my life, were my mother and my father, a very Christian woman, a very Christian crazy woman, and then a very satanic crazy man. Those are my pillars of strength and mercy or whatever, and within myself. And so had I not known my father was like into Satan in some way, shape, or form, then I would have never questioned. I would have never been like, well, what does that mean? Am I? Am I not? Had the seed never been planted, I would have never questioned. I probably would have stayed with the church or something. But because my mother was so, how do you say, repulsive to me, she would reject me and send me out into the world and abandon me. And so I would sit there in a tree alone for hours, looking and watching and observing in such loneliness and confusion. And I would be like, well, what was my dad like? And I would start questioning, and I had space to ask questions. Well, like, who was he? And it was always the same thing. Don't ask. And so whenever, it wasn't just my mother, don't ask questions about your father. It was also on a large scale of the micro and the macrocosm. On the large scale, do not ask questions about God. Do not ask questions about God. Shut the fuck up. Sing the church songs, be in the adulation of the choir, and just do what we ask you to do, No, fuck you, bitch. Are you kidding me? Who are you? Who am I? Like, just sitting there, like, just full fucking awareness that there is something, just being in the confusion and the okay, I'll submit myself to the church, and then realizing what the church is like, and then questioning. You're not supposed to question, you dumb bitch. And then I would be the dumb bitch and I'd question, and then people are like, she's asking too many questions. Well, tell her to shut up. No. No. And so that's just my lot. Let's just leave it there. That was my lot. I've had a very, very traumatic, when people, they speak of things, and sure, whatever, you speak of things, I'll speak of things too. All right. My life, it's a wonder. It is the ninth wonder of the world. How many wonders are there? 7, 8? Mine's like 32. The 32th. The 32nd. The 32th. The 11th. The what, how do you say it? 1T1, 11, 1T1. No, the 32nd wonder of the world is me living through the life I've had. Me being alive is the 32nd wonder of the world. And Jesus fucking Christ. So like I said before, and I'm trying to get back to that, is that had I never known that my father was allegedly this way, then I feel that like for me exiting the church, Satan held the door open and was like, well, let's go question things. I'm a part of the divine. Let's go figure out what the fuck I'm about, right? Do you want to come figure out what I'm about? And I was like, yeah, I guess. I mean, whatever. It's like, oh, you gotta be quiet, because you can't tell everybody in the fucking South. I lived in South Texas. I still live in South Texas. You think I'm gonna go on a fucking street corner and be like, Satan lives? Like, no, bitch, you're gonna get hit with a mob the same way my dad did. But he said some things that he shouldn't have said to my mother, and of course it's wrong to go and threaten violence against any organization, or they scary threats. You're not supposed to do that. So what he did was wrong. And so, and watching as a child, watching the sins of my father and the sins of my mother play out, and how they interact with each other, it was very, very, very horrible. They hated each other. And I am a byproduct of the hatred. There must have been at least a moment of ecstasy, otherwise I would not be here. Oh, and so I have to kind of sit with the sins of my father and the sins of my mother and sit there and go, ah! Pee Wee Herman. Ah! Ah! Salesman! Ah! No, but I do. I have to sit in the fucking aggravation of these two opposites mixing and them hating each other, and yet I exist. So I found communion with the other things that were left by the river's edge that other people had hated and abandoned and tried to ruin and erase. And I was like, I am the thing that people have tried to erase, and I have survived. And so now I shall show love to those who do not have it. And so I did, and I do. And maybe it's my Libra, Venus nature, whatever. To be fair and just, and that's not right. Let's talk about it. Let's fight this over. What does the law say? Is it an eye for an eye? Oh, okay, well, you fucking left me. Now I fucking leave you. And so it's just, there is, there's a lot inside of me. There's a lot of stuff. But number one, it's love. It's love for everything. Everything deserves love. Everything is love. The only reason things are is because of love, at least at one point or at 1 second or in a, how do you say, a moment of bliss. There was some type of love. There was a seeking and a gratification and then the consequence of that gratification seeking. That's what I am. Woo! Whatever. But I've taken this shit. I've taken this shitty lot, and what have I done with it? I have fucking try to fix it. Try to make it the best I can. So if I can speak on my shitty lot, if I can tell you the truth, if I can tell you my truth, if I can tell you my version of the truth, and if I could integrate stories into the truth and then help you understand that, one, you're worth it, two, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. No, but for real, like, listen, you're worth it. And even if you had a shitty fucking life and your parents suck and your grandparents suck and your friends suck and everything is just super shitty, your life is still worth living. Cut them out. Weed the garden. Sometimes a wildfire puts proper nutrition back into the soil so it becomes rich again, and then you can grow a new garden, restructure yourself, reform the way you think, envelop yourself in new ideas and new things, and allow the Tower card, allow the divine holy chaos to rain down upon the king and the queen of the whatever you used to think was real, and let the shit fall where it lay. And whenever it's done and the waters are settled and you know the psyche, right, it's all disturbed and whatever, whenever it's finally settled and you could see to the bottom of the pool, maybe you're sitting down there having a tea party with your brother. Maybe you'll find some kind of strange purpose within this fucked off, insidious cyclone of fucking horror. Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. My contacts keep fucking up. I move my eyes so fast that my contacts will try to slide across my eyes, and then all of a sudden my eyes look like a Rango, the chameleon. Like I have chameleon eyes. But no, yes. You should, first of all, number one, love yourself. Love yourself and get to know yourself. And if you hate your life, then the cost of a new life is your old life. And so you have to get rid of things. You have to pull up weeds. Maybe you don't like the way your garden's growing. Maybe it does take some divine cigarette flew out the window and caught the grass on fire and everything burned down. There's a wildfire now. But guess what? The soil is now rich and everything. So from that moment, from that vice into the air, mixed with oxygen and fire, the combustion, maybe it does ruin everything. And maybe there is new land now. And maybe the soil is rich and dark and deep and velvety and beautiful. And now you can grow fabulous fruits that you want to eat, not just the ones that they told you had to eat. Maybe you're tired of growing corn and potatoes because all you're doing is supplying people with liquor, moonshine, and you're done with that life. You no longer want to live in the endless Piscean disillusionment of fantasy. You want to live in the real world. So what does that look like? You gotta fall into yourself. Sometimes you have to one or two things is going to happen. This statue will crumble, or it will stand the test of time. But the materials you chose to make it out of and the external circumstances causing friction upon your work will provide you with one or two outcomes. It will either crumble back into the earth, back into the matter of all matters and not matter, and yet is matter, or it will stand the test of time and be held there, crystallized, the crystalline nature of structure, right? So, anyways, I'm gonna go. Where am I gonna go? I don't know. Oh God, I'm feeling strange today. Feeling flighty. But here's the thing. I'm sorry that I told you guys about my trauma. I'm sorry I told you about my parents. They're they suck. I was abandoned, mostly. And I had to learn how to sink or swim. And it was really hard. So when you're alone and you're sorting through the sins of your parents, don't forget to love yourself. Okay? Don't forget to love yourself, because you are important. And your work here is important, and maybe you don't know what your work is yet. Maybe you've been doing it this whole time subconsciously. You'll look back in 2 years and you'll go, wow, I used to look so different, but I spoke the truth. And I'm really proud of myself for doing that. Even though I didn't think it was important at the time, it actually kind of is. So keep instinctually doing your thing and do what you feel is right. Find your highest good, serve it, but make sure you're serving yourself to an extent. And when in doubt, ask questions. Sometimes you ask enough questions and the questions start opening doors. Then you could get the fuck out of that situation. Hightail it. Leave the fucking congregation. Leave the choir. Leave all the singers there to sing songs. Walk out in the silence into the desert and be like, what the ever-loving fuck is this? Okay. Goodbye.